Hello and welcome to the HR Like a Boss podcast. I'm your host, John Bernatovich. I have embarked on a journey to get to know amazingly awesome HR and business professionals with the hope to find out what it takes to do HR like a boss. If you enjoy the show, please make sure that you subscribe and hit that 5-star rating. On today's show, I'm super excited to be joined by Karla Wludyga. Karla is a friend that I have known over the years as being so professional, so kind, and so smart. She's a colleague that works at PRADCO, and I cannot tell you how excited we are to have her on the HR Like a Boss podcast. Karla, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, John. I'm really excited to be here. It's an honor.
Karla, how would you describe the purpose of human resources?
Yeah, I think the purpose, in my opinion, of human resources is to really look at the two words that build that up, human resources. So we know in organizations, we need resources to get the work done. And the biggest part of that, the most important part of that is the human part, and we can't ignore that. I think of manufacturers where they might have a plan for maintenance of the machinery and CapEx projects, but are they thinking about developing the people? And that's really where the human resources piece comes in, nurturing, supporting, caring for, developing the people who make the organization hum. We refer to organizations as things, and in my opinion, there is no organization without the people. People are organizations and organizations are people. And so human resources make sure that those organizations can succeed by supporting the most important part of the organization.
The importance of managers and leaders inside of an organization. I know your life's work now is dedicated on supporting a majority of people in that realm and capacity. You've done a bunch of presentations. You've probably studied it inside and out. You've seen a lot of data. What do you have to tell or say, or how can you inform and support the HR professionals that are listening around doing that better, supporting leaders better, driving meaningful, impactful work to your employees through great management teams? How do you suggest they do that?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. It comes back to the people, right? And making sure that the good ones stay. And we're hearing a lot from our clients right now about retention and engagement. We do believe they go hand in hand. And the thing is, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. So for organizations, they need to be thinking about how might we kind of give a variety of ways to engage employees so they can latch on to the things that are meaningful to them? And how do we retain our people that would really, it would be a detriment to the company if they left? And so we think about development, we think about coaching, we think about even developmental assessments, because a lot of growth comes from that first piece of self-awareness. And so how can we make sure that people who are in our organizations already working really well for us can feel valued? And that can be the attention and the support that they get through some development, through conversations about, are you motivated? Are you feeling good about your work? What does motivation look like for you? What gets you out of bed and get you to come in here every day, right? Or at least log on. A lot of us are doing that too. But we want to make sure that people feel the value that is requisite to the value they're bringing, right? And so we can do that lots of ways. I mentioned the development and the training and the coaching and the assessments, and that's all true. We also do engagement surveys at PRADCO. We do fractional HR. We have all kinds of services that can lead to that outcome. I think the first step for HR professionals is to remember, are we touching everybody in the organization in a way that makes sense, that they can see that we value them and want them to stay?
How do you think human resources can help leaders and managers build more effective relationships at work?
Boy, wish we had more time. We could go on and on about this, but it's an important question, and I appreciate you asking it. And it's important to me too. We have a social fabric that is fraying, I think. And so I would agree with you. This is something that HR can influence. It became a hot topic when the world came out of the pandemic, and all kinds of HR organizations were talking about, what do we do now? Do we go back to the office? Do we do hybrid? Are we remote only? And I know your company, this was not as disruptive for you as far as being remote than some other organizations. But it's still a hot topic because even though some of that has leveled off, companies with whatever decision they made about remote status or not might not like the decision they made. And they might still be grappling with that and thinking about the outcomes. And all of that is to say, in my opinion, I think that there is some value to being in person together at times. I cannot say that I agree everybody has to be in the office 5 days a week all the time. I think those days have kind of gone away. But I do think there's a purpose for being physically together. And this comes into play with training and development. Now at PRADCO, we certainly do virtual training, and it's helpful for global teams when everybody is everywhere. At the same time, I know how I feel when we can be together, when everybody gets together. And I've been with your team, together in a room too, John, and there's an energy there. I like to say, je ne sais quoi, about people being together, that it's hard to put your finger on why it feels good, but it does. There's some energy. And so I think making sure that people get doses of that along the way is really important. I also think it's easy to hide in a remote environment where people, may not check in as much or have those conversations. Now, I'm like everybody else. I get busy. I get, annoyed once in a while when there are lots and lots of sidebar conversations in the office and I have a lot to do. I'm probably more productive at home if we're talking honestly here. And I wouldn't trade it, because even though I have a long commute and I don't always like that when I go in the 2 days a week that I go, I always feel good about it. I don't regret it. I feel like there were small parts of the interactions that we had that we just wouldn't have had, little conversations about shoes, right? Something like that, John, that matters in the relationship building. And that's not to say you can't build relationships virtually, though. There are lots of people out here who lead teams that are across the globe that they may never meet or very rarely meet in person. And I think there are ways you can do that, but you have to be thoughtful about it. You have to be intentional about it. You've got to build in coffee chats or check-ins or text each other. Hey, have a great day. I saw your calendar. It looks busy. I just want you to know, I think you're going to rock it. You got this. Something like that, where you have that human factor in the work that doesn't cross a line. It just makes people understand, hey, I'm here with you. We're both human. We're going to do some great stuff today.
Karla, tell all of the listeners, how do you describe someone that does HR like a boss?
I love this question. Thank you. I think someone who does HR like a boss looks at the management and the leadership of people like a boss, right? So a boss, what's a boss care about? The organization's success and the people's success. And they realize those two have a symbiotic relationship. If we're doing a Venn diagram, they touch, right? And so we want someone to be doing HR like a boss by caring about results and the people who get those results. They understand that deadlines and initiatives need to happen. And they also understand that life happens and people might need a little leniency once in a while, a little understanding once in a while, and they find that middle ground where they can have that high rate of success that they're looking for, and also have a lot of people who enjoy what they do, feel like they are working in a very human environment and want to do the best they can every day.
You were awesome on the show. Thank you for being on the HR Like a Boss podcast.
Thank you, John.
Thanks for checking out the HR Like a Boss podcast. If it resonates with you, please leave a rating and review, or better yet, subscribe and share with a friend. Until next time, let's continue to aspire to do amazingly awesome HR.